Ladies and gentlemen, we are live. It is another very special edition of the Brew Party Podcast, episode number 39, and I'm joined by a very distinguished guest, one of these guests that I can't believe I got to come on this show, one of my favorite Illini of all time, one of the most prolific running backs in Illinois history, number 18 all time, 12th most yards all time with 2,361 yards, 18 touchdowns. Ladies and gentlemen, Reggie Corbin joins the Brew Party Podcast. Reggie, thanks so much, man. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I appreciate you having me. I had no idea I was 12th at all.
Yeah,
that's news to me.
I looked that up. Yeah, 12th all time, 18 touchdowns. You're second out of the people that to rush for over 2,000 yards. You're second on that list with 6.5 yards per carry. So you were just always a threat to get down the field, always a threat to make a play in the open field. So that's got to be cool to kind of think about that when you go back and think about that 1 year later. So how are you doing, man? What have you been up to? I know this is kind of crazy times for everybody right now, but how's it going in your world?
It's pretty good, man. I'm blessed. Everybody in my family is COVID free, healthy. I couldn't really ask for anything more. This time is definitely different, man. Definitely not what I thought it would be. At least when I was scoring all those touchdowns and everything. So, it's pretty good, man. I'm just over here training, getting ready, staying sharp, trying to, eventually go to a team. I got some stuff coming up, some workouts coming up, and hopefully you'll see me on the team soon. Just believing in God's plan for me and working as hard as I can. So,
absolutely. I definitely am excited to see you get a shot in an NFL uniform. I know if you had that chance, you would absolutely kill it. One of those guys that, you just look and see how is he not anywhere? How is he not with an NFL team right now? It's just you look at what you were able to do during your college career, and it's just insane that you're not currently on a roster right now. But like you said, you got stuff coming up. You are staying in shape, staying trained. So let's talk a little bit about the Illini so far this season. Obviously, last year was your senior season. Are you still able to stay in contact with the guys at all, keep in contact with them about this season? 2-3 so far. I'm sure they're pretty upset about this game last weekend getting called off against Ohio State.
Of course, man. I try to talk to those guys as much as possible. I usually know when they're free because I know their schedule and everything like that.
Right.
I talk to Dele nonstop, and he's over there helping coach and everything like that. I end up talking to Kendrick Green and Vidarian right before the game last I think 2 weeks ago. Simply we used to go to each other's room the night before the game, so I tried to call them the night before the game and try to help a little bit. But those guys are doing great, man. I'm happy for them. They got the ball rolling versus Nebraska, man. So, it's all good. I'm happy for what's going on. I'm glad they're pushing through and continue to, battle through adversity. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that stuck out so far is the running game. They have Chase Brown and now Mike Epstein. They both have been going off. They both had 100+ yard games recently. How have they been able to be so effective in the running game? Is there anything that you've noticed, like as a running back, especially as a running back that's played in that system, that they're doing pretty well to be so successful right now?
I think in that system, man, I think the best thing you can do is, stay true to yourself. And I would always tell those guys that just because, you see me juking and doing things like that, play your game, that's right. That's your game. And that was one thing, me and Dre tried to stick to as well. And I think they learned that and they took it to a whole nother level, Chase is just a speedster, man. Like he's going to run past you at all times, and then you got Mike, who's so quick and so patient and very decisive with his running, and he knows where everything's going to be, and he hits the hole, man. I think that room is so deep, and it'll continuously get better and better, and I'm excited for them, man. The fact that they can run the ball as well as they have with that offensive line and, battling through the injuries and everything, man, I'm excited for those guys, so.
Absolutely. So did Chase have to get your blessing to take over the number 2 from you?
Man, I didn't even know, but I definitely did give him my blessing before I left. I did, I told him, I said, man, It's either two things I wanted to happen. I wanted them to retire it, which I
Right.
knew wasn't gonna happen, or they give it to somebody who's definitely gonna do justice with that number. But the real guy that he needed the blessing from was Coach Bellamy, because
Mm.
that's who I originally got it from. And I remember when I first got there, he told me, he said, don't mess up that number. Don't you better play well if you wear that number. And he never even called me Reggie. He called me two at all times, because it was a standard with that number. And I think Chase is doing a heck of a job with it. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I do too. He's stepped in, in his first year, getting those big carries, just doing great so far. So let's talk a little bit about your guy, Brandon Peters. So you've been clamoring on Twitter the past couple of weeks to get him into the Heisman conversation. Obviously, you played with him last year. He comes in from Michigan. Can you just talk a little bit about what he has been able to bring to this program?
Brandon Peters is an elite thrower, man. Like elite. There's been times, standing by that guy, you see him make a pass and you're like, there's no way in the world he's gonna make this throw, and he makes it every single time. By far one of the smartest quarterbacks. Obviously, he's actually the smartest quarterback I've been around. And he just continues to learn every single week. You can tell he's growing every single day, and that's the scariest part. The fact that he continuously gets better and better. Like a lot of guys with, these top tier quarterbacks, you kind of know what you're gonna get, But with him, he actually gets better and better every single week, and the sky's the limit for him, man. I got so many great stories, of playing beside him and being impressed by the things that he can do. But that guy right there, whoever ends up getting him in the NFL and everything, man, is going to be super lucky. Like, they have no clue what they're getting, and I just want everybody to know. The reason I go the bat for guys for Twitter, I would want someone to do the same for me, So,
Absolutely.
and that's why I try to put it out there as much as possible, because, a lot of the time it's overshadowed of what he can really do. And I think last week he finally showed that, and it's just going to get better. Like, who knew Brandon Peters could run like this before he got here? They would have thought he's not a runner. The thing is, he's super athletic. He played basketball. He's down to earth. He's a guy who is actually a quiet leader, and you don't hear about that from a lot of people. They always say, if you're quiet, you can't be a leader. But he does it in a heck of a way. If you see Coach Lou Hernandez's, you see his Instagram, you see BP squatting. You don't see college quarterbacks squatting during the season. That just doesn't happen. He's in there with the rest of the team. He's running, he's sliding. If it's fourth down, he's dipping his shoulder. It's little things like that, and I just want everybody to notice, because that's a special kid you have back there at quarterback. And Isaiah Williams is next, and the sky's the limit for him as well. So I'm very happy for the program. I think they're in great hands.
So Brandon did have to miss time, and with this year, I guess not really counting for NCAA eligibility, do you think there's any chance that he would come back next year, or do you think he's ready to move on to the NFL? Like you said, whatever team gets him is very lucky.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on how the draft and everything goes, but do I think he's ready? Of course, I think he was ready last year. But that's not up to me. Of course not. If he comes back, comes back. If he doesn't, I wish him the best. BP's gonna be a stud regardless. At the end of the day, if you can throw the ball, you can throw the ball. And I don't think Illinois will have another passer of that caliber, at least for probably about 20 years. I just don't see it, And it's hard to see, because a lot of people see things during the game. But if they went to practice and they understood, how good he is, their minds would be blown. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure there's a lot of things that we don't see that you guys are going to know way better than anybody else. I just thought that was curious, as for how good he is and how talented he is. And that's incredibly high praise for him right there, saying we're not going to have an arm talent there or a passer like that for the next 20 years. Let's talk about your defense, or the defense, a little bit. I know you're an offensive guy, but this is somebody I'm sure you went up against multiple times in practice. I have to ask about Jake Hansen. he's having another insane year this year. Arguably the best linebacker in college football. He's all over the place, causing turnovers and making big plays. Like, is that every week in practice as well? Is he terrorizing you guys on offense, or was he?
Well, once you get into the season, you don't really play against the ones that much at all. But, I would see clips of him doing all types of stuff. But he's just doing what he does in practice. So he's an everyday guy, man. And, some people say it's arguably the number one linebacker. I truly believe he is the best linebacker. It's like, what more does he have to do?
Right.
Like you saw him play Mike a few weeks ago, throughout the season. And then because of I don't know who got hurt. Was it either Milo or someone else sat out? Yeah, Milo sat out, and he had to play outside linebacker, and then he made plays there. So what else can you ask? Is that not something that makes him the best? The fact that he can play every single position in that linebacker group and still dominate. I think he's a beast, man. I'm excited for his future and everything that's coming his way. I talked to him last week and just told him how proud I was of him.
Yeah.
But they definitely have a heck of a leader. And then he's in a great situation where, you're also being, I don't want to say coached by, but you're being, if you have any sort of question, you have the guy who almost led college football in tackles last year. Daly's right there in the back of the room. So he's in a great position, man. He's getting, the best of the best. And then you have Miles Smith as his coach, who's giving him, freedom to do, to grow and be a pro and kind of do what he wants. You couldn't ask for anything better. So I'm excited for his growth and everything that's in store for him.
Absolutely. I saw a stat that I think he's one of like 3 players in the nation right now with an interception, a forced fumble, a fumble recovery. The list goes on. Like, what he's been able to do has just been nothing short of impressive. But so what are the thoughts overall in the season so far? I know shortened season, you get the game canceled. They got 2 to go. What's the outlook like for this program? You liking where they're headed?
Yeah, of course, man. I think getting canceled was a blessing. As far as now the team has a few extra days to rest up. They can get healthy. Everyone can come back and be, full arsenal. They can be amazing. They can finish this season off with a strong run, and end up with 3 losses. They can really clean sweep the rest of the season. I'm excited for them. They have a heck of a coach and staff. I love that staff, to be very honest with you. You got guys like Coach Bob Lukaszewski, the special teams coordinator, who is top notch. You're not going to get a better special teams coordinator, and I don't think people realize it, but he has no starters on his special teams. Like no guys that start on offense or defense. And he has the top special teams every year. This is unreal. What he's doing. The fact that he's got Blake doing things like that, and Caleb Griffin comes in and he dominates. He's making all his field goals. It's crazy, man. Coach Ligg and that staff is amazing. So I'm excited for them and where the season is headed. I'll be watching every.
Yeah.
But yeah, everything is definitely perfect.
Absolutely. I gotta love Blake Hayes picking up that first down a couple weeks ago too. That was awesome. Let's talk a little bit more about you though, my man. So let's get into you as a recruit. So you come out of DeMatha High School in DC and you end up in Illinois.
Oh no. I went to Gonzaga. Ooh.
Gonzaga. Oh my gosh.
Hey, that's like saying I went to Northwestern right now.
Oh my God. That's so embarrassing. I knew you went to Gonzaga. I said the wrong thing because I know those are the two. I know those are the two in DC. So you go to Gonzaga High School. Holy crap. Oh, holy shit. I can't believe I just fucked that up. All right. So how do you end up in Illinois? Let's start there. DC to Illinois. Were there any other schools that were like big into you as much as the Illini were, or was it kind of when you visited here, you knew this was home?
I shut my recruitment down very early. But I was honestly interested in Washington State. That was the only other school I was kind of interested in going to. I had a bunch of the Pac-12 schools looking at me. What's crazy is Northwestern told me I was too small or something, which was nuts. And every time I played them, I was just like, I
Hmm.
remembered that for the rest of my career. But um, I got to Illinois because, I came on a visit and it was amazing. Um, I loved the atmosphere, even though it was freezing cold. I loved everything about the place. I love the tradition and even from the dirty Converse with the jeans at the game. Like I loved it all. I loved everything. I loved Red Lion. I loved everything.
Oh no.
The Jimmy
Yeah.
Johns. You couldn't change my mind about it. It was there wasn't a more perfect place for me to be. Um, and I also saw Josh Ferguson, man. When I first saw him play, my dad was like, "That's gonna be you in a few years."
Yeah.
Everybody wants him now, and everybody's gonna come back looking for another guy like that. This is kind of, so I felt like he had, in a sense, paved the way because that was the first guy I had seen, and then I ended up learning about all these other guys that had came before him, which was just amazing. And then Dre Brown, he was committed already, and when I first got there, he instantly told me, I would have thought him being, the guy in Illinois, he doesn't want any other running back to commit.
Hmm.
But Dre Brown was so selfless, man. He came up to me instantly and he said, "Man, I want you to come here with me so we can do this thing together." And for a while that never happened. We had
Yeah.
to battle through some stuff, and the fact that our senior year we got to do it together was the best part ever. Me and Dre are locked tight for life, and it was just it was amazing to see it finally come full circle 5 years later. Injuries for both of us and everything. So
Yeah.
it was good, but my journey to Illinois was definitely different than everybody else's, and it's definitely a long drive. So
For sure. So, how long is that drive from home for you to here?
I think it's like 10 hours, maybe.
10 hours. Yeah,
Definitely.
that is quite a drive.
Yeah.
You mentioned Red Lion. You're more of a Red Lion than a Cams guy.
Yeah, I can't do the cams. Well, I can't do. I'm traditional cams. I love the old cam,
The old
but
Cams, me
I
too.
can't do it, man, because I'm messing up my shoes and everything. It's just not. It's not my style. But I'm more of a once the season ends, me and Richie were gonna Lion on a Wednesday or something,
Hmm.
and just sit there and nobody's there, just me and him chilling, watching the game, like it was a good clean bar or something like that. But it was good, man. I'm definitely a Lion guy, you know, but I used to love Clyde's and everything. I never really went out until Richie got there, but I love the whole culture of Illinois. So
Yeah. It's something I'm sure it's not like it a lot of places all over the country that just party and all of that stuff. The different bar on each block where you can go in and have a good time. So one thing I did want to ask you about from your high school days at Gonzaga, you played rugby and you were actually a national champ. Can you tell me
yeah,
how you got into rugby and like what that whole experience was like for you?
well, um. I was. You want the short version or the long version? Because it's a deep story.
Whatever you'd like to share, whatever you got time for, my man.
Okay. My sophomore year, man, I was actually trying to go to my boy's house because we were supposed to go to a party that night. High school parties.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Man, I have a rugby game. You can come to that, and then we can go." And I was like, "All right." I'd never heard of rugby. No
Hmm.
idea. So I actually thought we were going to like a lacrosse game or whatever it was, but I went out there, man, and there was this kid that was kicking, like literally warming up from the 50-yard line. Okay. And he was kicking 20 yards past the goalpost and hitting the school. And this is
Yeah.
no exaggeration. People always think I'm exaggerating, and it's no exaggeration. And so I went up to him like, "Dude, you go to our school? I've never seen you. I've never, senior year on school at all? And he's like, yeah, I go to the school, man. I said, look, we need a kicker, because the following year we went, and he said, well, look, I'll come out and kick if you come out and play rugby. And I'm like, all right, I'll think about it. I'll definitely
Yeah.
do it. So I made a deal with him, and I'm thinking there's no chance he'll actually come out. And even if he does, my father won't let me play rugby, so I'll be good. And I end up watching the game. This team was amazing. Um, they haven't lost in so many years, but they go to the national championship every year, and they end up losing in the semis. So they end up winning the championship and then going to nationals, end up losing again. And the first day of tryouts, this kid comes out and he's kicking. And I'm like, there's no way. Like he can't expect me to go out here and, play rugby.
Yeah.
So he goes out, and after the season, he wins us a couple games as well, like close games. He kicked a 67-yard punt. And I come to find out he was the number one rugby player in the country. So after the season, he's like, man, all right, like I did my part of the deal. It's your turn.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there's no way. And I go to my dad, like, hoping he says no. He's like, oh, yeah, go play. And I'm like, there's no way. And the coach had already booked my trip to Italy, where we go on tour and play against the Italian national champs. So I just end up having to go. Like I had no chance. I had no problem. Like I just had to go. I had to go get a passport. They did everything for me. So at that point, I was like, all right, I'll go. And my first rugby game over there, we're playing against, I think they were like the Junior Olympic champs. And the most hostile environment I've ever been in like to this day. We got these kids who have been playing rugby for the entire life,
Yeah.
man. And they're kicking, and we're just a group of high school kids who are a team. We shouldn't be able to compete with them. And we end up losing by like 3. But that was the day when I said, "Oh, I genuinely love everything about this." And from that day forward, man, we didn't lose a game. I ended up going like 60-0 in the United States. I've never lost a game in the United States, and we won 2 national championships. Um, we dominated. Like there were, and it was tough. It wasn't easy. It was.
Yeah.
I had to actually commit myself to the game and learn how to pass and things like that. And that team right there just kind of taught me a lot about winning. The coach actually believed in me. He was the first person to tell me you are the best rugby player in the country. He would actually tell me these things, and there was no way anybody else would tell me that. And it was just crazy. And I ended up believing it and playing better. And then it kind of just came true to the point where I have like a bunch of offers to play rugby now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something I
Yeah.
want to do once football is over. I want to go play in the Olympics. So I want to compete for World Cup. And I'm grateful of the fact that I was able to do such a thing like that, because who knew I would have been playing rugby in Italy and Chile and stuff like that. So
Absolutely. So that's insane, dude. I knew you played rugby. I didn't know you 60-0. You never lost a game in the United States. But so do you keep up with like
yeah,
rugby
man.
now, like the US sevens and all that stuff?
Yeah, I watch the World Cup all the time.
Yeah.
I watch All Blacks. I'm in the house watching All Blacks documentaries. I love South Africa. I'm all about it. I watch Carlin House.
Yeah.
Um, I just love the game, man.
Mm-hmm.
I want to hopefully get with my boy Ben Sema again. That's his name, the kid that was the kicker.
Yeah.
Because he's top tier still. He plays professional rugby, and I have a bunch of teams calling me all the time trying to get me to come play. Um, but I just want to compete for a World Cup with him. Give back to a country that deserves it, and hopefully make history because I don't think
Right.
it's ever been done. So
Definitely. I don't think that has either. Wow, dude, that's so awesome. I hope that that's something that you definitely get to do to get to accomplish whenever you decide to take that on. Was there what part of was there any part of your game, like let's say when you started playing rugby from football, that you'd say translated over well, or vice versa, something from rugby that you started using when you went back to playing football in
yeah.
college?
So there's this thing in rugby where if you get tackled, you kind of have to place the ball back.
Hmm.
Um, but and you can't hold on the ball you can't hold on to it for a long period of time, or it's a penalty and the other team gets the ball. So when I would break through, like, and get to the safety in a sense, who was actually the fullback, he would the times that I would get tackled, it would end up being a turnover because I was faster than the rest of my team, so no one could catch up and get the ball. So it came to a point where I had to realize like I have to score these like every single time. And it just ended up translating to open field tackling. You know, now I learned where I don't know if people realize, but I am very comfortable in open field with the safety, like more than ever, to the point where like it kind of just slows down for me, and because I've done it so many times that I had to learn. And these guys in rugby are the best tacklers I've ever seen. I have no pads on, and they're tackling me. Like I've been tackled and been folded up in some rugby games. So that was definitely the whole thing that kind of translated open field, being able to square a guy up and slow him down and kind of control him with your feet.
Hmm.
And that is what, every time I watch my clips from Illinois, I just see it over and over and over again. And I couldn't believe, I actually been able to take something from rugby because I never would have thought that rugby would have helped me be a better football player. So
Yeah, so that's you're definitely comfortable in open space. You over 10 plays in your career with 50 plus that went for 50 plus, and you had four in one season that were 70 plus. So you definitely took something away from that. That's awesome. So you come to Illinois your first year, you redshirt. I know it's different for everybody, but during your redshirt year, was there something you worked on more maybe than other things, or trained harder at something than you would other things?
I don't even think I used my redshirt year correctly, man. I was just living. I was in so much pain and going through so many things that I was just I was
Yeah.
going through it, man. That's tough at 19. I have shoulder surgery after, I was the first freshman to get my
Mhm.
sticker off. When Beckman used to be there, you used to have the name tags and you couldn't get a stripe. And the team would vote, who would get their stripes off. And I got Keyshawn Vaughn
Yeah.
here, who's a 4-star. Everybody loves him. And he's still my boy to this day. We talk all the time. Then you got Dre Brown, who who ended up not playing, and he was hurt once I got there. But you had all these other, you know, freshman superstars who were going to be, nobody cared about who
Mhm.
I was at the time. And for me to get my stripe off first, said something to the coaching staff.
Yeah.
So I had just worked into the rotation and everything, and then I got hurt. Um, and I was kind of like depressed in a sense. I was like, man, there's no way. Like, this is crazy. Like, every kid wants to play as a true freshman and
Mhm.
do that. And I'm so glad I didn't. But because I would have gotten killed out there with those dudes. But it was good, man. I think the biggest turning point for me, basically, in my college career was it was actually a huge, like, it was a horrible moment for me. I think we played Western Michigan, maybe. And I ended up, we had this play for me where Coach McGee drew it up. It was my red shirt freshman year. And I hadn't really been playing that much, and I
Mhm.
broke to the line. We were on the goal line. Wes Lunt tried the whole week. The ball has been coming to me, and I was wide open. And I dropped it, right? So, and after the game in the car, I cried in the car for hours. Like, but I'm the type of person because I hate to lose. I hate,
Mhm.
I hate not doing my part. And at that point, I just decided to put my head down and work. I ended up finding out later that he actually wasn't throwing it to me. He was throwing it to Justin Hardy behind me. But it was just a huge moment in my career. And that ended up leading to when we played against Nebraska a few weeks later. And I had the game that I had. And then, just kind of battling through that and continuously going and everything throughout my life kind of helped me keep going and pushing. So when I got benched and everything like that, there was nothing, no other thought in my mind but to bounce back and to come back harder and come back better. It wasn't me blaming anyone. It
Mm-hmm.
was me just blaming myself that, okay, obviously, I'm not doing enough for them to want to play me, and I think that's what I try to let my game say my junior year. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not the biggest. Um, in people's eyes, I'm not the fastest, which is weird. But it is what it is.
Yeah.
There's some people that say I'm not the best catcher, which is crazy to me too. But I just knew, I had to do something that would set me apart, and I knew that, offensive coordinators love points. So at any point in time, it's easy. After coaching flag, this is where it kind of came in perspective for me.
Mm-hmm.
If a guy can score on a play that you didn't expect to score, you love that kid.
Right.
You love that kid. So, if Coach Rod called like a simple dive on the first play and it goes 70 yards, it makes his job easier and he'll love you for it. And I had to realize that, so that's why I think every time you saw me get the ball, I was trying to score.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to score from 60 yards out, 80 yards out. Even the Eastern Michigan game, at the end of the half, it was simple, inside zone, but I knew I was like, okay, like I'm trying to score. Like
Right.
I want to take this thing 60 yards, reverse 1,000 times, and have it be a clip. But it ended up not working out the way I wanted to. But that's just something I kind of carry with me, and that's what I learned.
Mm-hmm.
Score points, and they can't really. They'll love giving you the ball.
What's the key for like a running back like that to finding that much space and getting scoring those long touchdowns? Is it just pure speed, just being like, hey, I'm faster than you, throwing up the peace sign and running by him? Or is, I'm sure it has to do with your vision and obviously finding the hole, but what would you say like the biggest key would be for?
Man, that came down to a lot of things. People
Mhm.
didn't realize how much I studied like all the time. I think a clear example was I had told Kendrick Green the day before the bus, him and the whole offensive line, you know, the second play of Rutgers, because we know what the first 5 plays will be. I said the
Mhm.
second play we'll be able to score. I said it'll be able to go 70 yards. I said I don't care where we are. I know exactly what front they'll line up in, and they can all attest to this. And I told them, I said, look, KG, what's gonna happen is they're not gonna play the way they usually play. Like this is what they're gonna do and be ready to come off. He didn't listen to me. And afterwards, he looked at me and he was just like, oh, I should have listened to you. And, end up being that way. But that run that, I had against Nebraska last year, I knew, those things will happen. I knew that guy would come free off the edge and things like that. So a lot of it, man, is like watching film. Like you truly have to be invested into the game and know what they're going to give you. You have to really watch. I knew all the time how they're gonna
Mhm.
play, how slow they're gonna play. What I needed to do, and then once you get through, that's kind of something I worked on in rugby and everything,
Uh-huh.
because regardless of how fast you are, it's hard to with great angles. So once you figure that out and figure out the art to it, it becomes
Absolutely.
easy.
So let's talk a little bit about your junior season. That was when you broke out. You were a man on a mission, man. 128 carries, 1,085 yards, 8.5 yards per carry, and 9 touchdowns. 13th Illini to rush for over 1,000 yards in a season, and you averaged 9.3 yards per carry in Big Ten play. Like, I that's against like some of the best competition in the nation. You're running for a first down like almost every time. Is there any specific game from your junior year that kind of sticks out? Obviously, you have the 213 yards against Minnesota. You had that awesome game where you return home to Maryland and you have that 69-yard touchdown run. There's too many to count, man. Is there anything specific that you can remember where you were kind of like, yeah, I'm feeling it this game. You're not stopping me?
Probably that Minnesota game, man. Definitely the Minnesota game. That first time that, the first big run that it broke, it was actually the first play of the game that got me feeling the way it was. I ended up getting like a 1-yard gain, but I had made a dude miss and he barely tackled me, and I knew it. I was like, okay, all right, I'm feeling good today, because the whole season, people don't know, I had a sprained ankle, a sprained shin, 2 turf toes. Like I was playing with 1 foot the whole game, and I think you can see it like Rutgers game and everything. I was limping the entire time. Like I wasn't healthy at all. Like I was never healthy. I battled through all of this and I kept going. And this was the first game where I felt healthy, and I was like, thank the Lord. Okay, I was like, this is gonna be fun. And that was the first team that didn't stack the box. They like when we went four receivers, they went 5 in the box, and that never happens. And I was just excited. I was like, there's no way they're doing this. And this is gonna be a beautiful game. And Coach Rod couldn't have called a better game, man. It was perfect. The offensive line did a heck of a job, but I couldn't believe that they played us the way they played us, especially with the struggles that we had as far as passing at the time, But I think that's what kind of set it up for the rest of the year, that nobody else ever did that. They always stacked the box and blitzed and made us do certain things. I think everyone played us the same way throughout the rest of the year. But that was definitely the game, man. Feeling good, healthy for the first time. And
yeah. You mentioned the Rutgers game where you're limping. That's your first 100-yard game of the season. You go for 137. The first game of the year, you had 79 yards, 2 touchdowns. You were just all over the place, and I didn't even realize that you're playing on 1 foot, man. That's even more remarkable. Is there any? Would you say that Minnesota game was your favorite game from your whole 4 years? Or I'm sure I have to ask you about the Wisconsin game. You guys, that season, your senior season, you guys start 2-4. Your senior season, you guys start 2-4, and then you rip off 4 in a row, starting with that Wisconsin game. Can you tell me a little bit about what the message was like from the coaching staff going like the week leading up to that game, and then like on the sidelines when you guys are giving them a game and you're right there?
I have no idea, man. I really actually don't remember. It was such a blur.
Yeah.
But I just remember time we were down, and I brought the team up and kind of gave like a speech that everybody talks about. And it was basically, I don't remember what I said, but I basically just kind of let them know that we don't need anybody else. We have each other, in a very loud tone. But it was fun, man. Just to see the team come back and fight when nobody else believed in us.
Yeah.
Because nobody thought we were going to win that game. And it was amazing to, actually get a W in the Great Ghost and everything like that. So, it was good. That is definitely one of my, favorite games, especially as a team overall. That is by far my favorite game, that and Michigan State. So
that was the next game I was going to ask you about. You're down 28-3, just like that classic Super Bowl everybody remembers. Was it another speech from you at halftime that kept you guys in it and kept you guys coming back? Like, do you remember anything about that game? Like how you guys were able to, mentally be like, all right, it's 28-3. We're not out of it. Like, how do you keep going in that situation?
It definitely wasn't a speech from me at halftime on that one. It was a little cold out there, so I was in a different mood during halftime during that. I was trying to get warm, but we knew, man, we were a good team. We knew
Yeah.
that our defense was getting stop after stop after stop. You know, only reason Michigan State was kind of scoring is because we were giving them points as an offense.
Mhm.
We were putting our defense in bad situations. And when you see your defense get stops like that, for a fact that at any point, all it takes is one play, because you can score so fast and then, taking it all the way to the house. And
Yeah.
that is just like a relief. Like, thank the Lord. We don't even have to score those 6 points. Like, that's perfect.
Yeah.
You guys just helped us. So I think just seeing our defense and the way they played gave us faith and gave us that fight, and we just kept going, man. And, ended up just pulling it out. And the last play of the game, the one that DJ called,
Yeah.
we practiced that every single Thursday. So we practiced that all year, and we finally got to use it.
That's awesome. Yeah, definitely looked like you guys knew what you were doing on that play. I remember watching in my room, like just absolutely losing my mind, man. That was one of my favorite games I've ever watched. And then me and my buddies were at the Wisconsin game, and we rushed the field. And my friend Nick, I swear to God, was the first fan on the field. Like, he was just gone as soon as McCord hit that field goal. So last thing I'll ask you about your Illini career, then I want to ask you a little bit about flag football, and then we'll close it out here. So you get to play in a bowl game, the Red Box Bowl, your senior year. With that win at Michigan State, you guys qualify. Can you just talk to me a little bit about what that meant for you, and then obviously your other seniors, with all you had been through during your 4 years? You mentioned injuries, ups and downs, wins, losses. What did it mean, as a fifth-year senior to finally get to play in that bowl game?
Well, man, that's why I came back for my senior season.
Mm-hmm.
Every place I've been considered a winner, and I couldn't leave Illinois without being a winner.
Right.
I just couldn't let that be on my resume at all. Even though we ended up 6-7 or something like that.
Yeah.
We went to a bowl game, so I could care less what everybody else has to say. We won enough. But that was a heck of a journey, man. I think it was great for all those seniors. It made me feel bad for the guys that actually had never been to a bowl game. Like Sam Mays, who ended up playing as a true freshman. When Cameron Watkins transferred to Vanderbilt, and then they actually didn't go to a bowl game his senior year. So the whole time I was calling them, trying to show them everything. Hoping they could live the bowl life with us. But it was perfect, man. I couldn't ask for a better story. It was a great place to play, in San Francisco. Great weather. It was better than practicing in the cold. So, I
for
was
sure.
all around grateful, man. And it was definitely a great experience.
How was the swag? Did you guys get a pretty cool gift bag?
Yeah, we definitely did. We got some shoes. We got the you got the travel gear and everything. Got a bunch of gifts. We ended up getting like a Nintendo Switch. I gave it to my little brother.
That's awesome.
So it was good, man. Took care of some Christmas gifts with that. So it was definitely good.
So you mentioned Peters, willing to lay his body on the line. Obviously, that famous picture of him diving in the bowl game, was that a first down? That was definitely a first down, right?
100%. I'm all for BP at all times. So even if it wasn't a first down, it was a first down, just because it's BP,
Well, that it definitely sold me as a Illini fan. If I wasn't sold from his performance during the year, but you could really tell how much he cared. The starting quarterback willing to put his body on the line like that when a team needed to play. It was awesome to see. So wrap up your Illini career, like I said, 12th all time in yards, 18 total touchdowns. Incredible career, one of the most prolific running backs, one of the most prolific athletes this program has ever seen. One thing you did that was football related, but not really with U of I, was you had the opportunity to be a head coach for the Tuscola Flag Football League. Can you kind of tell me how you got involved in that? Because that was such an awesome story.
We had a player personnel I think that was his title at the time, player personnel or player development.
Hmm.
And I reached out asking him if there were like any coaching opportunities because at home, I was helping all the my cousin's team who's end up they're top 10 in the country as well in 12 and under. Every time I go home, I would help.
Yeah.
So I wanted to somehow help some kids out here, and they end up giving me a team, and I was like, this is crazy. Um, what's crazy is I didn't get to draft that team or anything. That team was picked
Yeah.
already, and I had end up bringing Coach Ward's son with me, who was my position coach at the time. I used to pick him up for practice. But it was just good, man. Like I would drive 30 minutes every single day and there and then back. And it was good, man. After practice I was dead tired, but they would make my day for sure. Those
Yeah.
kids are special kids, man. I end up having Colton on my team, who is, child prodigy, man.
Yeah.
You couldn't ask for a better kid, and I had a super talented team. A bunch of those guys were amazing. You end up having girls play flag football who end up loving it. But when I first got there, I think the best part was that, a lot of parents were always coming up to me telling me, my child had a bad experience. He fell out of love with football and this and that. And I had really reassured them, like, they're not going to, trust me, they're going to love it. It's going to be fun, you know. And I was tough on them, which crazy.
Hmm.
You would think me saying that we would be out there just playing tag all day, but no, it was real practice. Um, and I knew that they would definitely benefit from realizing that if you work hard at something in life, you can be good at it and you can do
Hmm.
anything you want to. So it was a great situation, a great experience for me.
We got a couple comments here from, it looks like some of the parents from that league. So Coach Gothorpe says, only reason we didn't win the flag championship was an injury. Reggie was an amazing coach. And then he says, I
Oh my
drafted the
God.
team. You're welcome. And then from Illini 611,
Yeah, he did.
this is about you. Another great compliment says, you're most down to earth guy ever. Great flag coach too. And then another one from Coach Gothorpe says, this guy changed my son's football life. So you just amazing, man. At such a young age, in college, that you're able to go out and impact other people's lives and other kids, that you have somebody to look up to them. Not a lot of kids can say, yeah, I was coached by a Division I athlete, somebody as awesome as you are. Well, is this something you kind of want to get into in the future, like maybe at a higher level of coaching at the high school, college, or even pro level, or maybe not?
Yeah, definitely, man. After that experience, it's tough though, man, because one day, when I'm like 50 and Coach Levy retired, I definitely probably like want to be the head coach of Illinois or something like that. Who knows what the future holds, man. I love coaching so much and giving back to kids and giving back to people that I don't think I'll be able to stay away from it, So it's definitely amazing. I think the toughest thing I think the thing that goes through my mind the most is if I was in my position or if I was those kids, I would want someone in my position to do what I was doing. Hopefully I play in the NFL and have an amazing career and all this, and then they'll really be able to say, this was my flag football coach. And that'll be, I think, a huge reward for them to be able to say, imagine if a big running back right now in the NFL was my flag
Right.
football coach. That would
Yeah.
be crazy. The game would be different for me, and I just wanted to have that impact on them, and that's a huge reason why I keep going and keep working hard. Just so one day they can say, that was my flag football coach.
Absolutely. That's so awesome, man. I just love that. So I actually have a question. You mentioned Colton earlier. So his dad, Jason, sent me a message and he told me, asked if I wanted to put you on the spot. So I'm supposed to ask you, who would have had the better season coaching in the flag league if COVID hadn't ruined it? They were supposed to have Marquez Beeson, Isaiah Williams, and Ryan Mead coaching one team, and Kendall Smith, Jamal Woods, and Kendrick Green coaching the other. Which one of those staffs are you taking?
I think I'm gonna have to go with Beeson, man. Beeson and Mead, and who else was the other guy? Was it
Isaiah
Isaiah
Williams, yeah.
Williams? Yeah, because you got to think about it. Jamal Woods, we call him Bobo. Bobo and Kendrick Green don't know anything about like routes or anything. They just so I don't know. Unless they just coach defense and then let Kendall do it. But I think they would have had a blast, man. Been out there with
Yeah.
those kids and actually experienced. They would have realized that it's not as easy as they think. So I think it would have been a great experience for everyone. You know, hopefully they can do something again next year.
Yeah.
And I wanted to actually go to a game this season, but Champagne's a little hard to get to.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
So I just got some rapid fire questions that I want to ask you real quick, and then we will end this. So the other day I saw you on Twitter, you and Dre talking to each other. You've talked throughout the interview how close you guys were throughout your whole college career, and I assume right now. So you're talking about rooming together before games, and you said you were a big fan of watching Friends. Before you went to bed. Is that your go-to show to get you ready for the game tomorrow, or give me some insight here?
It makes me relax, man. I think my biggest thing before the game is not thinking about it. So I thought about it all week, and I have to get my mind off of it. And there's no negativity in Friends at all.
Right.
You know, you're always gonna come out with positive vibes. I know every single episode of Friends. I can quote every single thing about it. Yeah, I'm a huge Friends fan. So
is that your number one, or do you give me a quick top three of your go-to TV shows real quick?
On like as sitcoms, you know, I'm a sitcom guy.
Yeah, I love sitcoms.
I'm a 90s sitcom guy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would definitely have to go with Friends, of course. I used to love Seinfeld. Seinfeld was amazing, man.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many. I love Martin. I think another one, like a new generation that everybody would love, is Fresh Off the Boat right now. That right there is amazing. And then, of course, Blackish, man. The things that they do actually touching, real life issues and things and helping people get through things. The fact that they have a COVID special and everything is amazing. So, I watch sitcoms all day. That's my thing,
I love it. Keep it light.
I'm a huge sitcom fan. Yeah.
So were you always rooming with Dre then, or do you have any other guys you liked or disliked rooming with? I know you probably don't want to put anybody on blast here.
Disliked rooming with? No, I always room with Dre. I would go to Coach Tim Knox before every game, like, hey, only me and Dre, because me and Dre just knew how each other, like he knew which bed was his. We knew that, like, we had this thing where we didn't talk on the day of the game. We didn't talk in the morning at all. We wouldn't speak, kind of saving our energy. In a sense, it just made us feel better. And when we woke up, we didn't speak to each other. We knew not to open the curtain at a certain time. Like me and Dre, we were just kind of like, we're like best friends, man.
Yeah.
So it was simple. I always loved rooming with Dre, and that was the best part about everything.
Yeah, I bet, especially having somebody you're so close to, where you can be with them, before the game, after the game, all the time. It's got to help for sure. So what was your favorite like kickoff time? Did you like the 11 a.m. games, like the 2:30 afternoon games, or were you a night game kind of guy?
I'm night game, night game. Like I want freaking Monday Night Football. When nothing else is on. I love the Fridays though. Because you get the rest of the weekend to yourself. But I love everything about night games, man.
How does that change your like prep, like, or like, does that change like what you do like during the game day? Like if you have a night game, are you just chilling at the hotel like all day, or walkthroughs or something?
Yeah, I literally just sit there all day, don't speak. If I go down and get snacks, Dre will text me what he wants. That's about it. That we really wouldn't speak. We'd be right next to each other, just texting each other. We watch the games. It's crazy. So we watch a little bit of Friends, but that's about it, man. We would just kind of chill all day, and then just try to start your mind a little later. That's all.
Absolutely. Yeah, he didn't seem like he was too big a fan of Friends on Twitter, but I guess not.
He secretly loved it, man.
Yeah.
He's a liar. He loved it. He loved it just as much as I did. Like, if he couldn't find anything, he was turning on Friends. Don't let him fool you.
I'm
Don't
clipping
let
that.
them.
I'm clipping that for sure. I'm definitely going to clip that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So my last two questions here, I guess it's kind of like a two-part question. So favorite Big Ten team to play against and your least favorite Big Ten team to play against.
My favorite Big Ten team was definitely Nebraska at Nebraska any day of the week.
Yeah.
The balloons, and I hate when they score, of course, but when they do score, the balloons and the smoke and everything, man, it's dope. Like I was a fan of it, but I didn't want to see them score at all anyway. So
Yeah.
I love their stadium. The trip there was always nice and smooth. The hotel was fine. Um, I couldn't complain. The food was good. Least favorite, I would say like when I played Rutgers or Indiana was my least favorite because usually like so when you play at that level, your
Hmm.
coaches are really good, so they do a great job of preparing you for every single thing that's gonna happen. So when they call this blitz exactly where they're supposed to be. But teams like that, sometimes, back when I played, they weren't as good. So they would have a guy not do their job, which would end up making the play and make you make it seem like you didn't do what you were supposed to do. But you
Hmm.
knew where he was supposed to be. And it was just like, man, it's going to be a battle. You always got to get
Right.
yourself ready. When you feel like you're supposed to beat a team or however you feel, this should be a win. It's kind of tough to get yourself going for those games,
Right.
especially when no one wants to come to the game. It's weird, man. But
Yeah.
those were definitely my least favorite teams to play if I had to say that. But at the end of the day, they're Big Ten teams, and every team
Hmm.
in the Big Ten is good. So that's the thing. That's why Rutgers could sneak up on you back then, but now they're good. Now they're known to be good, and Indiana's known to be good. So when I played, that was definitely my least favorite.
Absolutely. So Reggie, that's all I got for you, man. I really cannot thank you enough for taking this hour to talk to me about the Illini, talk to me about your career. Pulling over on the side of the road there. I'm sorry about that, but uh,
All good, man.
again, man, I can't thank you enough. Best of luck to you going forward. I know you've got a bright future ahead of you, no matter what you decide to do. When you're in the NFL, when you're winning the Rugby World Cup, when you're coaching at Illinois after Lovey retires, man, you got a bright future. I can't thank you enough. This was an awesome time, man.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you for having me so much.
Absolutely. So you're a recurring guest now. So when you do make that NFL roster, I'm gonna have you back on and talk about that.
I got you, man. You don't
Abs-
even you don't even have to say anything. I got you. It's all good.
Absolutely. Best flag football coach that Central Illinois has ever seen. Number 12th all time in University of Illinois football history with 2,361 career rushing yards, 18 career touchdowns, 44 career games played. Ladies and gentlemen, a good one, a great one, very down to earth. Awesome guy, Reggie Corbin. This has been the Brew Party Podcast. I'm Andy Hopper. This audio for this will be available in a couple hours wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, Pandora, iHeartRadio, all that good stuff. And then the video is available now on our Instagram, not on our Instagram, on our Twitter, our Facebook, and our YouTube at The Brew Party or at The Brew Party Podcast on Facebook. Reggie, thanks again. This has been awesome. Look out for this episode coming out later today. I will make sure I tag you and Dre in that clip of you calling him out about friends because that was hilarious. All right. Thank you so much.